Hey everyone, this is Gaming Solo, and this week we're going to start part one of a two-parter that is going to be the equipment we use in the verse. Next week we'll be talking about weapons and the different things they've been doing with those as far as balances and some observations that I've noticed after some testing a few weeks ago with a friend. But and it gives me a chance to try it out in the PTU, which should be going live for all waves today, maybe by the time this video is released. But the thing I want to talk about this week is the armor that we equip. It's a pretty interesting topic right now because with tier 0 item recovery, we're able to wear whatever armor we want without a whole lot of fear that we're going to lose it. And as a result, we've seen a lot of cool stuff out there in the verse. I know I've seen some armor sets that I've not seen in the wild before, and people wearing some pretty cool stuff. I know that I've been wearing my favorite armors without much fear of losing it. And this is, of course, a really good thing. I think a lot of people have changed their tune on the tier 0 item recovery issue. I've heard it said that maybe everyone was upset about it because that's one of the only game loops they had to do was to loot the armor off the people they were killing. And now that everyone gets to respawn with their armor and they're able to jump back into the action, that's becoming more fun than the looting of armors and weapons and things like that. And I have to agree, it is nice to not have to take a few minutes every time you die to re-equip or go to the Galleria on the space station you're bound to, or even if you're still bound planet side in Stanton, having to get on a train and go to a different part of the city to get your equipment, and then take another train to get back to the spaceport and get back in the action, and having to do all that. It's been nice, but armor as we know it is going to be changing here very, very soon. They have not gone through all the changes, but we have had an interview. I cannot remember if it was before or after CitizenCon, where they talked about kind of almost class armors, right? You got stealth, medical, and even a technician type armor that could potentially wirelessly recharge energy weapon mags of the group. So there's some interesting stuff that they're playing around with, and it's very reminiscent to MMO classes. So in a standard MMO, you have a class that you pick at the beginning, or you have kind of a mixed class based on the weapon you equip, and that's what dictates your abilities and things like that. It seems in our FPS MMO from CIG, we're going to be looking more at the equipment that we equip on our bodies, not the weapons we equip, um, and utilizing those as our soft classes. And this puts a couple different things up for question in the verse. One thing that I was thinking about is all the armor lockers we have in the ships, the suit lockers that are currently not usable, but eventually will be. And I'm wondering on some of the ships, how are we going to carry around more armor than the one set? I know that the game wants to be leaning heavily on our personal choices and planning, but a solo player that's going out into the verse in a solo friendly ship, not, we know that the Constellations and the Corsair and things like that are going to be a lot harder to solo once engineering's introduced. And I know that they have a lot of suit lockers, but, well, they're supposed to have a lot of suit lockers. I know actually the Constellation doesn't have any right now, and it needs a rework badly. But, well, it's got the little pop out thing, but I don't think that's a suit locker. I think that's something else. But with that being said, they're going to need a way to store more than one suit in these, quote, soloable ships if they're not going to allow us to wear a suit while we're flying. And for those of you going no suit while flying, there are intentions in the future to either make it impossible or very difficult to fly your ship when you have a full armor set on and equipped. I think the idea is that they want you to wear a flight suit when you're flying, and that'll give you the most mobility. Maybe they're going to restrict how far you can look around in the cockpit and things like that. We don't really know how they're going to implement this. We just know that they're talking about implementing it. They have talked recently about having a benefit to jump seats and maybe some kind of auto equip feature, an auto unequip feature when you sit down in a drop seat. It unequips your armor, and then when you stand up from the drop seat, it automatically equips it all back to you and things like that. I think that might be a little silly. Maybe drop seats just let you sit there with your armor and your weapons, and maybe it automatically stows your backpack to your lap or something. But the intention is that you should not be in a full, heavy armor. Maybe you can get away with light armor. A lot of the light armor seem to be more form fitting, and probably less restrictive from a pilot seat. But they are going towards a kind of a view that they don't want you wearing armor while piloting these ships. And when that happens, in a lot of your starter ships and single player ships, you only have one suit locker if you have a suit locker, right? The question comes, what about fighters? We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen with fighters. They mentioned something about the exterior storage and things like that. But part of the fun in a game like Star Citizen, I cannot talk today, is being able to come in hot in a situation and jump out and get into the action. And if you're flying in a fighter and then you have to ground to take care of a ground situation, it's going to be a little clunky to have to jump out of the seat and throw on armor. But regardless, that's kind of the direction they're going with armor, right? So having multiple suit lockers in the smaller ships is going to be a must if they start splitting, quote, classes out like that. If I want to do some FPS missions and then I see a medical beacon pop and I want to go help them out, and there's a very strong benefit to having that medical equipment on, I'm going to want to switch to the medical equipment for that beacon. But if I don't have a place to store the medical armor, instead of being able to go straight to the beacon, I either have to ignore the benefit that I could have gotten from the medical suit and go to the beacon without it, which might be plausible, or I'll have to go back wherever my medical stuff is stored, whatever inventory it's residing in, and go switch it out with the suit that I have in the locker. And in the course of a game that's supposed to be fun, I don't see that as a fun option. I know that they have been talking fun. I think they've heard some of the complaints that people have with it being very sim-like in Star Citizen. People are starting to complain about some of the pain in the butt situations, which is kind of where the Tier 0 or item recovery comes in, I think. I think they wanted to alleviate that, especially this year while they're cleaning up bugs. They wanted to alleviate that pain point and allow newer players, as I think they're anticipating, the next couple of years as Squadron 42 becomes a thing around its release and the publicity that CIG is going to be getting. They want the Persistent Universe to be a more stable and fun experience for these players that might be coming in to try it out during free flies or going ahead and pulling the trigger on a starter pack and joining. But the fun factor kind of diminishes when you have to go everywhere and do every little thing, right? I'm all about preparation, and part of preparation is decking out your ship with the armors you want. But if it's going to be a constant pain if you're in a starter ship because they've diminished your ability to fly around one of the larger ships that will have more lockers in it, then you're still going to be limited in what you can do every trip out, depending on how substantial these soft classes are with the armor. Now, I'm not against the idea of having, quote, soft classes with armors. I think it's an interesting concept, and I think it's a really cool way to play around with the UI and give some extra bonuses and things like that when you're doing stuff like mining, or even salvage, which they have mentioned there's going to be mining and salvage. I'm really interested in the stealth gameplay. Some of my favorite gameplay loops before those missions disappeared was the missions to clear out the derelict locations that have, the people that aren't supposed to be there, right? There's the civilians that are supposed to be there, and then there's the trespassers. And I just loved pulling up on those, parking right outside the place, going in with a sniper, and taking out the groups, from different vantage points and moving around and trying to stay stealthy. And when real stealth is in the game, it's going to be so fun. I like that gameplay. I'm not a big bruiser. I'm not a big, run in with a shotgun or an SMG and shoot them down. I do a bunch of bunker missions, um, and things like that. And a lot of my videos have that. This one might actually have me doing bunker missions. I can't remember which video I queued up for this offhand, and this is before editing. But I really prefer, and you'll see me in the bunker videos sometimes rolling with a pistol and a sniper. So I really like that stealthy gameplay and having armor in the game that will make me even stealthier, right? Being able to hide and not be pinged as easily by the FPS radar they're working on, and maybe even, who knows, have some light bending technology or something to make it harder to spot you. It's already pretty hard to spot people in this game because of how realistic they've made the graphics. Sometimes it is hard to pick people out, especially if they're not moving amongst the debris and stuff. But some kind of light bending technology in the armor would be incredible. But soft classes are going to be really cool, I think. I just worry about the game loops and being able to cover multiple different quote classes while you're out in the verse, kind of exploring and trying to enjoy. So hopefully CIG thinks about this and either adds another way to put in, maybe you have a spare suit somewhere in your storage where we can put suits of armor in our storage right now, which is fine. And maybe that's their solution. Give the ships a little more storage so you can have multiple suits stored in there, and then you have your main suit on your suit locker so that you can equip it quick. They talked about that, being able to equip a loadout very fast from your suit locker. So maybe that's the way they'll go, and I'll be okay with that. But as long as you have enough storage to be able to store that, and then of course any of the knickknacks that you get while you're out in the verse exploring. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the soft classes through armor that they're talking about and that we might be seeing here soon? Hopefully, we do. Side note, have that in the FPS helmets already. We have the crosshair in the FPS helmets, and that's kind of alluding to those soft classes that we're going to have as things roll out, right? Not all the helmets currently have the crosshair. They're not all going to get the crosshair. And some of the ones that have the crosshair might not keep it. They might be really for other things. They just gave it the crosshair for now to give it more usability. So what are your thoughts on doing soft classes through armor? Sound off below in the comments. If you want more content, please hit the like. If you're not subscribed, definitely hit subscribe. Analytics are telling me a lot of you are watching and not a lot are subscribing. So it'd be great to get that subscriber count up. Maybe later in the year, I might be looking at doing some giveaways and things like that. Something to help get traffic bolstered to the channel. And anyway, you guys have a great one. I will catch you in the verse.